All right, so I've been thinking about making this video for some time, also for myself. So I want to kind of show how I make and deploy all these apps with Claude Code in just like 10 minutes. I've gone down from like an hour to now it's just 10 minutes. So I don't think I'll go through the whole workflow today, but I'll just give you a kind of a snapshot of like the basic level overview of what I do. So just to uh, prove I know what I'm doing. Because there's a lot of people who just make apparently some bullshit app and then they don't release it, and then it's just like if it's not released, then if it's not making money, what's the whole point of even making apps? So these are some of the apps I've made. So this is Best Photo AI. It's making like 5 to 8K per month right now. Don't look at the MRR. This the volume. The revenue is the more important part. Same with AI Pick. The MRR is like 1.5K, but look at the freaking gross volume. And I've made some of these are recent. So AdMake AI, that's I think now it's at 1K revenue, even though it's another MRR. So there's like an AI ad generator. There's something called Slopmog, which is basically like you know those if you go to Reddit these days, it's everything is a AI slop. So if you ask a question about like, okay, what's the best, I don't know, like a PDF file converter I should use, then you'll just see like tens of people commenting with their own tool, and they're not even real people. It's just a bot. So yeah, this is my attempt at that. I made this video so I could do the same thing, but for these projects basically. And this one actually got its first user in like some time. I have not actually been even paying attention to it. I just released it like I worked for it like 2 or 3 days, I think. The whole workflow. The basic deployment takes like 10 minutes, but like the whole thing probably takes a bit longer because it's a bit complicated. This one, DocuPal, I just got it first, paying customer from it. So this one is basically just like AI roleplay. Um, I was like, okay, what is something I can basically, so what is something I can basically just go off at lunch? I can just like tell Claude Code to build me, and then it'll build me, and I can just deploy it, and it just gives me at least even if it doesn't make me money, it at least gives me like some SEO juice or whatever. So yeah, that's. I'll show you how to make apps like these, I guess. So what you will need, Cloud Code, that's for sure. Or you can also use Codex, but the UI will not be good. So I would start with Cloud Code. A Cloudflare account, I would hope if you're an indie hacker, you definitely have a Cloudflare account because you will get DDoSed and then all that stuff like straight out, like after you start making any real money. Shared Vinex. So this is my template for how to build new apps, basically. And this is something I've kind of built out after quite a lot of testing around with my other projects. And the front-end design skill, this is one of the main things you'll be using with Cloud Code. So yeah, for the stack, this is how I've gone through. So in the beginning, I used to go with Django and then like React. I switched that to Django plus Next.js for like server-side rendering, so my SEO would be good. But 2023 is around the time, or maybe if it's 2024, yeah, 2024, 2025, I figured out that AI is just not good at handling two different cross platform, you can say, like cross backend and front end, basically like full stack. If you try to do it like two different languages, it's just not as good. You have like your own mental bandwidth kind of gets overloaded if just for one project you have like two different like separate backend and front end. So I went with Next.js full stack. So backend is in Next.js as well, and front is in Next.js as well, and like a Dockerized setup. So this one is like AI Easy Pick and AdMake AI. I think I'm not using Django. I think this one should probably be here. So only AI Easy Pick is using this outdated stack I used to run. And the one after that is Vinex. So this one I recently discovered. I think it was actually this whole framework was kind of completely AI generated by Cloudflare. So kind of kind of crazy. So how this one works is you use all the Cloudflare services. So Cloudflare workers for the front end and back end is at least I know I think that's how it works. A D1 for the database for KV. I think actually recently I found out that KV cache is not good with Cloudflare. It's kind of way too expensive. So I think you can actually switch this out just for just like use a D1 with like a normal index or whatever. And for any long running stuff, so like let's say you want to send email, like let's say I don't know, like 30 days after somebody signs up, or like 10 minutes after somebody signs up, you will need a queue. So I found that you can just use the queues with Cloudflare, and it just does the same thing. So before I used to with Next.js, I used to use Bull MQ, but this needs a VPS, and this one is actually completely free to start with, which is kind of crazy. Like you could probably do this as like a replacement for Vercel, and it will still be cheaper even if you start making money. Like it's kind of crazy. So yeah, that's this Dokipal I started with, and then also I have another one, but that's not making money. So I'm only listing things here that make money. I have a lot of projects that don't make money, and to find out a full list for that, here's a list of things I've built. So yeah, so the most important thing when you start is you need to reference your past projects. So you never start completely from scratch. I used to do this, or I have to do this when I'm like making a completely new stack, like I did with the this one. So if I'm like switching from Next.js to Vinex, then I have to uh, at least like for the first time I'm doing this, I have to like really focus and make sure all the edge cases are worked out and everything, which is good for you because I've now open sourced this template thing, so you can just use that. And if you just tell Claude to reference something, it will actually do a pretty good job of making sure all the pitfalls and stuff you've already dealt with, those are all gone. So I will always reference my past projects. So this is kind of like how I do it. So let's say like explore this project, AI Easy Photo from this, and then just understand all the key patterns, project structure, and all that, like the user schema, like for logging in, like credits, stuff like that. Like it's just I've done it so many times. It's just boilerplate. So I just was like, okay, just take it, take it from there, figure it out, all that stuff. And you have to tell it to this, that is for research only, especially with now with Opus per percent, because if you tell it to reference something and start making it, it will immediately start working on it, and if that is not good because it will pretty quickly run out of context. So we need to tell it to make a plan first to how to implement it. Um, so that the context can be clear. Like after it's done all the exploring and stuff, you can clear its context and then just implement that plan instead of just keep going. Um, yeah, and specify the file path. Uh, Also, if you have some specific feature you already implemented, you can just say, okay, just use that as the reference. So for Facebook, so there's a lot of features I have to continuously re-implement. So like Facebook ad pixels, and then there's Microsoft Clarity for analytics, and then Google Analytics, and then I have to implement like auth, and you have to implement Stripe for like credits. And you can see how before there was this whole AI thing, you would have to, I don't know, spend like a week on all this stuff. But now you can just like say, okay, just reference what I already did. Um, and reference plus business constraints. So there's a lot of times that if you just tell it to reference something, it will come back to you and ask for guidance again. It's better to just do everything, like all the planning stuff, just dump your brain at it. That's what I've been doing recently. I'm just like, okay, I tell it exactly what is in my head. Like, even though it might not make sense to you right now, like, there's a lot of times when you're making a project and you're like, how would this whole pipeline even work? And you can just like dump your whole brain and hopefully come up with a plan with come up with it. And this is another very important thing, parallel design agents. So this is the most important thing if you do not want your site to look like complete AI slop with like blue gradients and all like a basically like a basically a clone of like linear or like yeah, basically if you don't tell it anything, it will basically just make this. Like there's like a few templates Claude Code is good at, but like if you don't tell it anything, it'll just come up with like blue, green, uh, blue and white gradients and all that stuff. And actually, that's one of my regrets with one of the sites I made. Not this. I recently updated this whole thing, but before it used to be very bad. It used to look pretty garbage. So this is what it used to kind of you kind of get the vibe of what it used to look like. This is kind of really garbage. So I had to improve it manually one time again so I could get it done. But if you do not do this, then your site will just look AI slop. And this section here is where you should be focusing on like what kind of language it should be, like what kind of writing style it should use. So for like slopmock, so for this project, I had like a mascot character for some reason. It's kind of like it's kind of feels a bit informal the text is written. Like you can see which can there's like the yeah like here it kind of feels informal. So here's where you can actually like decide what kind of language or not language but like what kind of writing style or writing tone you want to go with. So 5 parallel design agents is what I go with. So the prompt kind of looks like this. So using the front-end design skills, so this is one of the requirements I told you about. I want 5 creative variations, do them in different agents. So you don't want it to bloat the context of the main agent. So I just do it in sub-agents. And just make sure this is happening in like Opus sub-agents, not Sonnet sub-agents. And I want very different creative versions because otherwise it will just make the same thing 5 times. Also, another thing with it not looking like AI slop, tell it when it's making illustrations never to use emojis or like what's it called, like recraft icons or something, something like that. Some icon pack. Never use that. Always handcraft illustrations. So that is how you can get stuff like this instead of like the generic thing I showed you earlier, which is like this. Not this thing. Yeah, like this. It'll just make this every single time, like this a box with a freaking icon in it. It just you can immediately see it's AI slot. Um, and yeah, sometimes it'll, for here, oops. So some of them it will just every time it'll try to come up with like terminal style or like brutalist or like editorial. Like you can just say which one you don't want, and because otherwise it will just make random stuff. So for slop mock, this is what it came up with at first try. So this is like game the algorithm, be the answer. It's kind of colorful. This one it kind of feels like spammy. It kind of fits the kind of vibe, I guess. So this one is actually the first one. So the third variation is kind of what I landed on. So you can see, let's say I said, okay, just make slop mock, and it came up with this. I'd be like, I don't know about this. This kind of still looks like AI slop, even though it looks kind of colorful. This one is like more like hi-fi, like premium aesthetic. I think this one is like arcade vibes. So once this is all done, you can tell it, okay, I like this, I like that, don't do that, don't do this. And you can tell it, okay, now come up with 5 more variations based on all this reference and context I told you about. Uh, and it will just make that. And I think I had to do a couple of iterations to get here because only the hero used to look pretty good. The rest of the side was pretty bad. So yeah. Yeah. And then plan in parallel. So when you start a new website, at least the way I do it, there's just so many moving pieces and I just want all of them to be done. I don't want to have to think about I don't want to have to think about like Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, all that garbage. There's so much boilerplate you have to go through. So you have to tell it plans but it has to be higher level because otherwise, even the main context will be blown out, even if it's doing stuff in sub agents, right? So you have to tell it, okay, like backend stuff, do this, front end stuff, do this, API stuff, do this, and then you have to give it a Claude MD that's has all the kind of very strict schema and like which packages to use. Otherwise, it will kind of go off the rails, and you'll be in the middle of like week one, and you'll be like, "What the heck? Why am I using Next API when I said use TRPC?" Um, and another thing, always use plan mode. So whenever you're making a new big feature, if you just tell it to make something, it will come up with something very basic. At least that's what I found. So if you're not already like editing an existing UI, always tell it to just enter plan mode. So that way it can think more and just research more. At least from what I found, like plan mode stuff when you're implementing new features is just way better than just saying, okay, just do this. And build in parallel. Otherwise, you're going to waste too much time. Also, the context will be blown out if you do not build in parallel. Um, and this, you have to take this to another level, which is build in parallel in different cloud codes. So if you tell it, build me an entire app, it will not be able to do it. It will do, first, you have to do the scaffolding. That's going to take quite a long time. And by the way, when I said like 10 minutes here, I didn't mean like 10 minutes of coding. So that's 10 minutes of thinking basically, because you have to think and write all this stuff down, and then you can just go off and I don't know, like go off for lunch or something. And then when you come back, it's kind of done. So you have to think about doing stuff in parallel. You cannot just do one step, okay, I'm gonna go, and do another step, I'm gonna go. It's just like you're not gonna get anything done that day otherwise. And then deploy. So with all this, the one of the biggest thing with Cloudflare is when you do deploy, it's kind of similar to how Vercel is, where you can just do like when you git push, it auto deploys. Here, when you do like npm run deploy, it auto deploys. So it's very simple. All the environment stuff, I think that's called like Seeker Store. You would just push the stuff there. It's pretty nice. And yeah, so this is what it kind of looks like. So npm run deploy, and it will just do the type checks and everything, and you'll actually, if you don't have a domain yet, you'll just get even like a workers.dev URL. And yeah, just remember this lesson. You probably won't be able to do a new app in 10 minutes, because the way I got there is because I have built 5 other apps before that, and then probably even more before that. Like, just look at how many I've built here. So there's Best Photo AI, AdMake AI, DocuPal, FigPal. This is like a Chrome extension. This is AI EasyPick, XHDR. There's a KiteWatch. It's like a uptime monitoring tool. FrameCall. It's like making AI videos from just text. This is like another Chrome extension. This is Lopmog. This is like Translate Talk, which is supposed to be like you just talk to your phone and it will translate whatever you say to another person. And there are others, and I've just kind of I think I've just killed them because they were too much. They were not worth the hassle. So this is kind of how you need to think about it. So if you just keep making new apps, you just get faster at making new apps. Um, so this is kind of how my apps reference each other. So at the beginning, I guess my most successful, or at least the thing that kind of made me into an indie hacker, it was AI EasyPick. So that's the Django plus Next.js one, and then that one I referenced that when I used made AI Easy Photo, and when I made AdMake AI, I use AI Easy Photo as reference. So you can kind of actually even see it from the design. So if you see the design, you can see the color scheme, even the logo is the exact same. So yeah. Um, and then AI Easy Photo I use as a reference for like some internal like backend decisions and all that. Mesmer Tools was completely standalone. So this is when I switched to using Vinext. And that one I made. So this is the one I made. So it's called Shared Vinext. So this is going forward. I'm also going to be using it as a shared project where I can just reference it, and then it will be able to build me new features. and all these reference each other basically. And this whole thing was also this site, or I guess this slideshow or whatever. I also built in Cloud Code, so you can just tell it stuff and it will do it for you. Like you just it, the idea is the hard part right now. Where now I feel kind of like I have too many ideas. I'm like, is it even worth the, I don't know, like 5 minutes of thinking to get this idea deployed, or should I just spend the time on growing the projects I already have? So that's kind of my thinking. But if you do not have that problem yet because you don't have a working product, then just like go ham. Like there's so much stuff you can do. Um, yeah, just don't over explain. Sometimes even if I'm happy with like a design, I'll just say like ugly as well. What the heck is this garbage? It's if the model has no feeling, just go ham on it. Doesn't really matter. Um, and the persona, you have to kind of think about what the user is like. So for one of my projects for Rest Photo AI, I have a something called photo restoration, which is over here. So this is for people who are like over 50. So this user interface has to be kind of like that way, where it's very simple to use and all that. So you have to tell it, okay, like this is what the user persona was going to be like and all that stuff. Um, Yeah, just the redirect fast. Techniques that compound. Yeah, Sonnet for exploration. A lot of times just use Opus if you're making anything, and Sonnet if you are just referencing or like in the planning phase and all that. Enter plan mode, this one we already covered, is basically whenever you're making a new feature, like anything to do with UI, just enter plan mode. And actually, these days, if for any backend changes, I use Codex. So there's that. Use subagents, claude.md, this is pretty important. I have this in my shared Vinext, if you want to follow that. Reference past projects by exact path, because otherwise it will try to search and it will just waste a lot of time, just like when you could have just given it the file path. Custom skills. This one is not really custom skill. This one I think it even comes with like Anthropic, is directly from Anthropic actually. And yeah, directly paste JSON and stuff. And thanks for watching. And this is the template I was talking about. Hopefully it's here now. Okay, it's here. And yeah, so this is what I'm using right now. So Vinex D1 with Drizzle ORM. Because I've actually never looked at my I've never looked at my database queries. Drizzle kit, I don't even know what the heck that is. R2 for the file storage. KV cache. I'm actually in the process of removing this because this is apparently kind of expensive compared to just using D1. You just use D1. This is for anything to do with async stuff. Offset.js for anything to do with auth. TRPC, I always use TRPC, even though I think Next.js now has like type complete APIs. It's just easier to use TRPC. I just used to it. D1. I don't think this is that relevant. Hand-rolled UI primitives. I don't think that's that relevant either. And Tailwind, I'm just used to V3. I don't know what changes there in V4. I don't want to make a whole breaking change. And let me check. Do we have this? Do we have this running anywhere yet? Yeah, I think that this covers kind of all this stuff. And yeah, I think you can probably tell this is AI generated, but I had to put a lot of my own stuff. Yeah, so I had to. There are a lot of stuff that I had to figure out. For example, the migration stuff, how to get that working, queue consumer up firing, blah blah. Yeah, this is stuff you'll figure out once you've made an app. Um, yeah. So if you want to see kind of the if you want to see me actually use this to build an actual app, um, let me know, and I'll probably do that in the next video. See you now. Bye.